available first to our disconnected communities so that we can start to connect them in. That's what we're doing with that work group, and next week it'll be a different one, and I hope that we will see you on Tuesday at 1 o'clock for our webinar on tax changes in the CARES Act. So thank you, Dean.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Erin. Next, we've got Ann Angermeier. And Ann, I have your slides, so hopefully I can, yes. So you let me know when you have, when you're ready for me to move your slides along.
Here, unmuted, okay. Basically, as you know, the pandemic unemployment assistance is kicking in, and the unemployment system has been on major overload in addition to the phone line. We had our regular unemployment insurance that was prior to COVID, and there were some pandemic unemployment compensation kicks in, and now those are being paid out. So some individuals could potentially get $926 a week in unemployment, because you had $326 maximum unemployment and then the $600 kicking in. And it will be possible that some people will make more on unemployment than they were making in their job. The one thing I can say about the South Carolina Department of Employment Workforce is the Director Elsie has been working very hard to try to solve this overload issue. They have gone from, I believe it was 46 customer service reps handling the unemployment questions and doing the customer service online and by the phone. They have now ramped up to 292 in like a week, and they're going to 500 next week. So they're really putting in the resources to solve the problem. We've been averaging about 200 calls a day with people who are frustrated and not being able to get into the system, or they can't understand enough about it. The bulk of our calls we're getting now are about the pandemic unemployment assistance, which are those self-employed individuals, your gig economy workers, 1099 workers, church employees, and some independent contractors. A lot of the people that we were hearing from are like hairdressers, or some 1099 nail salon workers, people we've never heard from before because they've never qualified for unemployment insurance. And a lot of the questions have been, why is it saying I'm ineligible? And it's because the system hasn't been turned on yet, because of that portion has not kicked in. Even though it'll be retroactive back to February the 8th, if that's when the COVID stopped their business, or whenever it did stop their business, it will go back to that point in time. So, and I don't think they're gonna see any money till late April at the earliest. So they're gonna be hurting. I fear for them. I really do, because they're going a long time without any payment. The pandemic emergency unemployment compensation, that'll basically be for those who have been unemployed and may have exhausted unemployment insurance. So it'll kick in to start their unemployment back up. You can move on to the next slide, Dean. There's 268, this is just mind-blowing here, 268,614 claims that have been placed in the system in the last 4 weeks. Just to give you an idea, from the upstate, from the top region, it's 30% of the claims are from the upstate area. Last week, or the last report I had, which was Sunday, 53 million had been paid in claims. Now, just since Sunday, 114 total. So that's a lot of money that's getting out, and the state is putting the money out of their system because they had not received the federal money. So once again, I think Director Elsie's been very proactive and and doing that, of course, with the governor's approval to go ahead and get as much out as he can. And 10 million had been put out in regular unemployment. Another issue that's happened is when you apply for unemployment insurance, the system automatically connects over to the Social Security system to verify your Social Security number. Well, that system can't handle the load. So it's kicking back and telling people that their Social Security number is either invalid or cannot be verified. That has really had a lot of people upset because they thought, oh no, somebody's using my Social Security number. So we've had to kind of deal with that in trying to reassure them that that's 99% not the case. And right now they're also spending a lot of money on system upgrades. So nobody could have anticipated this. There's no way. You cannot blame anybody for this. It's just one of those strange things that happen. Some of the most common problems we're hearing from people would be things like, it's asking me for questions to verify down the road if I lose my password, like, what's your favorite movie? And if your favorite movie is The Godfather and you type in the space and The Godfather, it kicks you out because you can't have a space, but it doesn't tell you you can't have a space. So before the Q&A came out, we were really at a loss trying to help people get through this because we didn't know those things either. But now that the Q&A is out, things are going a lot smoother. And like I said, a lot of people are being told they're ineligible just because the money hasn't kicked in, but they should still go ahead and get their applications in. There are a lot of Q&As on the issues. And I think, Sharon, you put the link or either the Q&A on the website. So please encourage people to look at that before they get started or if they get frustrated. And hopefully they'll be able to get into the system and on the phone lines a lot easier now with more customer service reps on board. But they're going to have to be very persistent and very patient. It took one person 30 hours over 4 days to get their application online a couple of weeks ago. And then one lady had tried 35 times to call, never got through. I'm so afraid people are going to give up. And that's the last thing we want people to do. One other question that we're getting asked, and I'm trying to get clarification on it. I feel I know the answer, but you don't ever want to misspeak. And one is some businesses are saying, okay, can I apply for the loan money and unemployment? Well, certainly you can't double dip would be my answer, but I'm getting something in writing on that too. But what they need to do is look at which one do you think is going to, yield you the most money. Like if you're a hairdresser and you have booth rental, maybe it might be better for the loan, but then again, it might not, depending on how many weeks you have been out of work and how many weeks that you might be out of work. It might be better to take the unemployment. The job market right now, I can tell you that Home Instead and Instacart, they have a zillion job orders in the system, both on Indeed and on the SC Work system. Those are the top two. I was really surprised to see there's a lot of nursing positions open because I've been hearing that hospitals are having to lay off because they can't do elective surgeries. So I can't quite understand that one. A lot of travel nurses, telenurses, those type nursing positions are open. This just gives you a list of the 10 county area. The different type jobs are open. There's still some construction jobs that are pretty abundant, and maintenance, engineering, of course, a lot of truck drivers, anything with delivery, food service, building cleaning. Those are the type jobs. Unfortunately, there's very few manufacturing jobs, as you can imagine. And that's my biggest concern is how are they going to ramp back up? And I think that's something we're going to have to really watch closely. This just shows you the claims that were by how many claims by sector for unemployment that's been coming through. And as you, of course, you can imagine, accommodation food service would be number one. And then you can see that manufacturing was third. An idea where they're coming from there. There's still a lot of people that have not filed. So I don't think that tells the story. I know it's hard to believe when I say 268,000 have filed. I still know that there are a lot of those self-employed people who have not filed. I hope they will put what they put on their IRS tax form as what they made. If they are kind of been fudging a little bit because maybe they got paid in cash, I hope they don't put that down, because I could see that coming back to get them with an IRS audit down the road. Now, a lot of those individuals, like your 1099 nail salon type people, they get a lot of cash tips. Loans, as you heard, they people were struggling, like what banks are going to take my loans. Some banks were saying they're not going to do it. And then they kind of jumped on board and said, okay, we will. And then we'll only do it for our customers. So all of that, I think, has been worked out. And then now, of course, the money's dried up. So I really don't know as much about that process, because that's just not under our system. But hopefully people will start getting some of the money there soon. What are we hearing from the following sectors? The restaurants, we do hear from them, and they're very worried. I think the retail, we definitely hear that they're worried. But manufacturing, they really have been very quiet on the manufacturing, because I just don't think they know. I know Freightliner in Cherokee County is kicking up again next week, or maybe this weekend, and they're looking at the 6-foot distancing and all those sorts of things. That makes it very hard for production lines to operate. So that one's going to be something we're going to watch real carefully. That's our bread and butter, and I'm really kind of afraid for that one. I do think we'll get future stimulus packages. We know the healthcare system's going to get some. I don't really know what other businesses are going to maybe get more help. Hopefully there'll be some money there for them once we see like who's going to hurt the most. But I do, of course, there'll be one or two more packages that come out. If anybody that has any questions, I'm not going to swear I can give them the answers, but we can find out the answers. Please feel free to give them our number. We are coming to the office every day. So there are people here, and we can get the information for them. Unfortunately, right now, there's people at SC Works closed to the public when people need us the most. I wish I could rent hazmat suits for everybody, so we could be face-to-face with people to help them. So it's a bad situation right now for individuals to get help, because a lot of people just don't have the computer savviness to, especially some of our blue collars, to get through a system that's so bogged down.
And that was a question we had. If you don't have internet or a computer, the phone lines, obviously it's taking forever, but is that really the only option for someone, is to hang on to the phone and hope to get through?
It is. I even posed to the state to consider paper applications, but they were not willing to go back to that. So, but their answer being to ramp up from, 40 something to 292 customer service and then 500 next week. That's going to take care of that phone problem, I believe. So people will be able to get through the phones and do it that way. People are going to still have to go in and certify every week too. So that's still going to be a system touch. So just because they initially make their claim doesn't mean then the system will be freed up for others, because they have to continually do that every week. But the job search is waived for those that are COVID affected, because we don't want them to leave their current employer. We want to keep them job attached until all of this, plays out.
Great. Well, obviously so much more on this, and Ann did do a story for the e-newsletter that Sharon mentioned that came out today, if you have not seen that. And certainly there's her contact information, and she and her team will be as helpful as they can for you. And Ann, thanks for that update. Next, I'm going to invite Scott Carr to come on and talk about the update from GSP Airport. Scott?
Thanks, Dean. Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity just to give a quick overview of the aviation industry. Go to the next slide, if you would, please. Thank you. So this is just a quick overview of the industry as a whole, and then I'll talk about GSP specifically at the end. But this is the number of worldwide flights that has fallen off. So you can see there's been a dramatic decline. So in January, there was over 111,000 daily flights. And currently, through the end of last week, we are down to just under 30,000 daily flights around the world. So COVID-19 has certainly taken a drastic toll on the industry. And we're seeing that here, unfortunately, locally at GSP too. Next slide, please. So this is just looks at passenger volume. So this is for all US airlines, and you can see by different sectors. So as an example, if you take a look at the blue line, that was traffic that was going over to Asia, over the Pacific. And you can see it was falling off sooner, all the way back in February, but that was due to COVID-19 really taking hold over in China and other parts of Asia. But you can see all other sectors, domestic traffic here in the United States, as well as Canada, Mexico, and across the Atlantic and down to Latin America have dramatically fallen off. And really almost down to single-digit numbers now throughout the entire aviation system. Next slide, please. So this, it shows just US traffic here and taking a look at what the US airlines are trying to do. So as a schedule planner, if you were working at an airline, you're trying to match seat capacity, actually the number of people that are flying. And you can see that the number of folks flying is decreasing faster than the airlines can reduce available seat miles or available seat capacity in the market. So they have cut since February 24th all the way down to the end of last week, 76% of the available seats in the market, but traffic is down 97%. So that kind of gives you an idea of how bad things have gotten in the aviation industry overall. Next slide. So this is load factors. So you can see, and load factors are butts in seats, as we say in the airport industry. So domestic load factors are down to 9.4%. On average, in January of 2020, they were just right around 80%. You can see international traffic hasn't been hit as bad. Folks are still traveling internationally a little bit. It's decreased from 81% down to 22%, but the overall system is down approximately 70% in the number of folks traveling. And that's the percentage of seats that are filled on any one flight on average. So this is just an interesting statistic, just taking a look at the number of people that are passing through the TSA checkpoints nationwide. So you can see the blue line there is 2019, the yellow line is 2020, so just benchmarking the same days year over year. And you can see that the number of total travelers across the United States that are going through TSA is below 100,000 per day now. Next slide. So that all has translated into airlines parking aircraft. So you can see back on December 31st, 5% of the active fleet was parked. And that was just based on sometimes through attrition, older aircraft that they were actually getting rid of and taking out of the fleet. So 315 aircraft. But since then, we are now over 2,000 aircraft that have been parked. So Pittsburgh, Oklahoma City, there's several airports around the country that have taken on a lot of parked aircraft. And so airlines it's more economical, even though fuel is super cheap right now, based on the pricing war that's currently going on between Russia and Saudi Arabia that has driven fuel prices down. Even though the fuel is cheap, there's just not enough passengers to keep the seat capacity in the market, so it's cheaper to actually park the aircraft than to fly them. And then the next slide. So that kind of looks at where we're at today. So this slide here actually shows what's the future look like. So right now, demand for future US travel is down 99.5%, so down almost 100%. And as you can see on the red line there, net booked airline revenue is down 103%. And so it's over 100% because of refunds for future travel. That's how you actually get to the 102.6%. But you can see folks are just not booking travel right now. Even looking out at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, folks, there's just so much uncertainty in the marketplace that folks are just being hesitant to book any business or future travel. That's creating a lot of uncertainty just in the overall industry. I'll tell you that we had finished up our budget. We're on a July 1 through June 30 budget year here at GSP. We had finished up our budget back in March. We're taking it to our airport commission in May. We've done 2 revisions of that budget based on these forecasts. And it's just it's kind of what I call dartboard math. It's very difficult to actually pinpoint when the industry will come back, as well as what it will look like when it does come back. But what we do know is on the next slide, this is employments. So employments is the number of people actually getting on an airplane. Deplayments are the people getting off. That then creates total traffic. But right here, we're just looking at the number of folks that got on aircraft. And so GSP employments, we were doing very well the first 2 months of the year. We were up January 2020 over January 19. We were up roughly 6%. And February was up 8.7%. So we started off the year extremely well, continuing to grow in the number of folks that are using GSP as their hometown airport. But then in March, the second half of March, things started to decline very rapidly, as you saw in some of those other charts. And so we were down 42.5% for that month. We expect April, we're right now running single-digit passenger loads, probably right around 5%. So we expect April to be down at least below 90%, and it may be 95. I just was trying to be optimistic with the 90%. And then the next slide is just historical employments here at GSP. So this is since the airport opened on October 15th of 1962. So this shows the annual employments, or the number of, again, people getting on airplanes since the airport opened. And you can see there's been some fluctuations over time. But you can see what I tried to point out here is in 2001 through 2004. So we had the terrorist attacks, 9/11. So it took about 4 years to recover there. And there was a 12% drop in passenger traffic over that time for us to get back to so it took 4 years to get back to 2001 levels in passenger employments. And then we had the financial crisis in 2007. And so traffic dropped off 13%. Again, it took another 4 years to fully recover passenger traffic. In talking to other airports and in all of our industry calls, we've never quite seen anything like this. And for something to be so prolonged, 30, 45 days that we're into it now, is it going to be 60, 90, 120 days? We don't know. So it's hard to predict what it will take to actually get us back to 1.3 million employments, which is where we ended up calendar year 2019. Some people are projecting that it'll only take 1 year to 2 years to recover. Others are saying that it could be five or more years. So we'll have to wait to see when the pandemic ends and when things come back. But I do want to mention that we are open. Things are operational here. All of our airlines continue to fly, and they still continue to schedule flights. We do see a lot of day of cancellations from the airlines. So we're operating approximately about 50% of the flight schedule today. So they've reduced the flight schedule, but of what they've reduced it to, they're flying about 50% of that. So about 20 daily departures currently. And we do have food, beverage, retail services available. We have consolidated our parking lots, as I mentioned on the last call, but we still continue to operate. We do, our cargo business is still continuing to do well. It's not down to the same level as passenger traffic. We are receiving medical supplies. In fact, Prisma Health actually has a flight that's coming from Hong Kong next Tuesday It's a Boeing 787 bringing in medical supplies for the upstate community. So we continue to work flights like that, just as well as regular cargo too. But that's just a quick update from GSP. And again, thank you for the opportunity to provide an update.
Great. Thank you so much, Scott. And obviously not the kind of news any of us want to hear, but you know, you all certainly have done such a great job over the years of being good stewards of resources at GSP Airport. So I'm sure you're continuing to do that. And while certainly taking a major hit as you lose so much of the business, I'm sure compared to other airlines or airports, you guys are probably doing fairly well because you were prepared and not in a negative situation as this was coming in.
Yeah, and from a financial standpoint, that's a good point, Dean. We were prepared, and we have approximately 12 months of cash on hand. So for our O&M budget, operating maintenance budget. So we were prepared for a downturn. I don't think that anybody ever envisioned anything of this nature or scale,
Right.
but are well suited to rebound once we get past the pandemic when it ends.
Well, and we hope that comes very, very quickly, obviously. We're now going to transition to some quick county updates and start with Tim Hall in Abbeville. Tim, how's everything in Abbeville? I probably have to unmute you first. Okay. How are things in Abbeville, Tim? Uh-oh. We lost Tim. We'll try to get him back. Carol, how are things
Yes.
in Anderson?
Things are as good as they can be. I would say that I am so proud of the way our city, county, nonprofits, and other organizations are working together. And we have been very, very concentrated on helping to ensure that the most vulnerable, in the homeless population, have what they need: showering place, hand washing stations, portalettes. But we've really centered in on making sure that those that are food insecure have food. And we have 10 organizations working together with us on that. And lastly, I would say that, and I know this was said a little earlier, we are already thinking forward into what it means to put together the partnerships to help people with rent, mortgage, and utilities, including power and water. We want to help ensure that people do not end up on the streets. And so we're going to be working together to do that. But it's a new day. It's a new opportunity to do things differently. And we've just been trying to do that the best we could. Relationships and partnerships. That's the name of the game.
Great. Well, thank you for that,
Thank you.
Carol. And next we'll go to Franny in Cherokee. Franny?
Yes, so our biggest issue, and Ann may be able to answer some of these questions for Cherokee County, are on unemployment, mostly with everybody having to go in and certify. Our employees are wanting to know if they will get some kind of notification saying they need to certify, or do they have to just keep checking the website every day? And that's something I don't know. You know, this is my first time going through this. And then also our employers are having some issues, it being the first time that they are having to go on and apply for unemployment for their employees, not knowing exactly how to do that or what the website's about or what they need to do and their next processes are. So I have been talking to the South Carolina Workforce Board, and they have been very helpful to this point. So I've not talked to them and today about these issues I just mentioned. I was planning on doing that today. So hopefully we can get an answer on that. And then our another issue has been the banks, as Ann mentioned before. Some of the banks not processing these applications. Some of them are. Some are just for members. Some are for non-members. And then now, because it's so late in the game, the banks or they're out of money, so they have stopped taking applications until the next round of funding comes out from the government. So that's kind of put some people on hold. But then it's great that, like someone mentioned before, it's great to see everybody in the community working together. The workforce board, the unemployment, the city, the county, nonprofits. We meet weekly on a teleconference with businesses in our area to give updates on who's closing and what their needs and volunteer work looks like. And we try to get that out to our members.
Great, thank you. We'll go next to Dean Adams from Travelers Rest. And Dean, I've seen pictures. Y'all have been giving out a lot of masks.
Yes, we have. We had a local business that usually makes takeout containers. Their name is Paper Cutters, and they found a way to make a cardboard mask that can be used. It's not medical grade, but it can be used just like people are using cloth mask. And so we started out with 1,000 on Tuesday, and we gave them all out within an hour. And then we did another 1,000 on Wednesday within like 30 minutes. And then we got a whole huge order, and we gave out 8,000 today. So the fire department and the police department set it all up as a drive-through at Trailblazer Park. So people just drove up, they got 10 masks per car. And these are like origami, cardboard. When I say cardboard, I'm very much simplifying, but it's a special kind of cardboard. And so you can spray it down with like your bleach and water mix after you wear it out one time to kind of clean it. And so it can be reused, but you do have to assemble it yourself and put rubber bands on it and tape up the edges after you fold it up like you're making an origami thing. So I should have provided a photo, but you can see it on our social media, Discover Travelers Rest. And the other updates I would share is that we have worked with our local businesses to have a couple of listings that we're promoting on our website and promoting out through our social media and email newsletter, that we have TR takeouts. So we know who all's in towns providing takeout food. Then we also have a buy local TR page for the people who aren't food. And we also have a TR tips and resources page to try to help everybody get any kind of assistance they might need from food or whatever else. And then we're also working with our small businesses in other ways to try to have like a merchants meeting online next week and make sure they're all informed and taking the steps they need to get the financial assistance they need. I think that's it.
Okay, well, great, thank you. Tim, did we get you back on yet?
Dean, I'm trying with him to get him on. He said he's having trouble being recognized, so he's going to try to call in.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll go with that to Heather Jones in Greenwood. Heather?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see some of you on the line and hear others of you. I guess our biggest news this week is that Angela Laborde, our CEO of the Greenwood Chamber, announced that she is moving to Lexington. So officially and publicly, I'd like to acknowledge the contributions that she has made to the Greenwood community in her many years here, and just want to certainly take the opportunity to account for very many things that she's contributed, and we wish her the very best as she transitions at the end of June into her new job. So we've got her a few more months. We can keep working her hard. So that's a big piece of news. On the subject at hand, couple of things that are going on in the community. We are starting to, as we were talking at the beginning of the call when we were in the waiting room, we were starting to talk about how we transitioned from response to recovery. One of the things that we've been really trying to identify on the small business side is how to do something meaningful for small business. And as we're working countywide, we have to look at industry. But Uptown Greenwood, the city, the chamber, and the other municipalities are really concerned about the smaller businesses. And so we've got a group here through the Community Foundation and United Way and others that are contributing to funds to help on the human services side. We want to figure out how we can help on the business side. And so we really started to focus our efforts more on technical assistance. One of the things that Ann and I and others were talking about before was dealing with, you know, the small businesses that don't have a presence online and they don't have curbside pickup are starting to really show that polarity or that disparity between the ones that have kind of reinvented themselves and been able to keep some of their income coming in. So that's one of the things that we're looking at, is really trying how we address a multi-tier recovery plan that takes into account all the different layers of business that as the partnership we have to kind of look after. Additionally, similar to what some of the others have said, we have been filming some success stories. And so tomorrow we're going to talk about a plastics recycling company that's been in Greenwood for a long time that pivoted a couple of weeks ago and put in a production line. They're now making PEPs, which is protective emergency ponchos. And so we're going to be talking about that as one of our success stories, as well as Greenwood Mills, and they are making the mask that they are getting out to our healthcare professionals. So trying to get some good stuff out there. On our EMD, on our emergency preparedness call yesterday, our focus was mental health and behavioral health. And while that's not something that traditionally, you know, we typically as a frontline thing think about when we're talking about economic recovery, but definitely is a very viable concern that we need to be thinking about. One of the ideas that came out of that was, as people are furloughing employees, maybe being able to continue to offer them mental health benefits, something that can keep the mind healthy, the body healthy while they're out and not able to be in the office. So that was an interesting idea. Continuing to share best practices. One of the best, I guess, participatory kind of events we've had this far. Last week, James Bateman in our office led, along with Self Regional Healthcare and Occupational Medicine webinar with local industries where they could ask questions and better understand from the healthcare professionals directly what they needed to be doing, not only today, but some thoughts about how they would move forward. And about 50 participants really had great questions, great feedback. And then we shared that today countywide with folks. So those that weren't able to join the call were able to hear what was going on there. So, you know, trying to keep up the spirits and keep out some positive stuff while we all know that there is a lot of hurt. And again, to echo Carol and others' comments, really proud of the way that the community has come together, the way that cities, counties, nonprofits are being creative around the ways that they address the needs of our residents and of our business and industry. So thank you for allowing me to offer those comments.
Great, thank you, Heather. And I think you're right. It is going to be a ongoing ramp back up. It's not something that the switch is going to hit in one day and all of a sudden everything is back to normal. And I think it will be different for different industries and different businesses. But one of the industries that is definitely at the forefront is our healthcare, and we appreciate everything being done in that realm. And Justin, appreciate you taking a few minutes to give us an update on what's going on with Prisma Health and specifically there in Lawrence.
Sure. Thanks, Dean. And you know, a couple things to comment on. Healthcare is definitely not exempt from the financial impact here. I've been reading articles from earlier today about rural hospitals closing, actually larger hospitals closing in other states as well. And just to put it in perspective, you know, we've seen about 77% decrease in our elective volumes with a 500% increase in expense. There's been just a tremendous need for medical supplies, PPE, and capital as well. You know, as we've been thinking through our surge plan, if you look and see what happened in New York, it was all a surge. You know, some of you have heard me say the virus itself really is not that bad. It's the surge that's taking place, and the health systems just can't accommodate that. So for the last month and a half, all hospitals really across the state of South Carolina have been working together and coordinating through the South Carolina Hospital Association, DHEC, and different coalitions to prepare for these surges. Interestingly, when you look at the numbers over the last week or so, we've kind of been in this lull. However, in the last couple of days, we've started to see an uptick. So we were wondering if it was the quiet before the storm, or if maybe we were actually flattening the curve with social distancing and folks doing their thing, and really trying to help there. But so it's uncertain, but we're definitely prepared. We're looking at different ways to continue expanding virtual visits. We have actually seen numbers from our practice sites that about 75% of their volume is has now gone virtual. So now the question becomes, what does healthcare look like after COVID? You know, especially thinking about the younger generations in years to come, where that's probably more of a preference. I do want to give a tremendous shout out to the county partners that we have. And I specifically want to call out Joey Avery with Emergency Management of Lawrence County. Joey's been tremendous in helping us find resources, namely our triage tent. We have that tent set up outside of the emergency department, trying to triage patients before they actually get into the facility. A lot of coordination around supplies and logistics. We've been very conservative with our lab testing, and we are in fact only testing patients who are admitted to the hospital. All others are given an order and encouraged to go to an outside reference lab. Again, a large part of that is supply preservation and conservation, preparing for a surge of inpatient volume. I do want to mention something that Ann talked about, was the open positions. I'm sure you've all seen, and Ann was spot on, we've had furloughs across all Prisma Health, and really what we've been looking at is just trying to maintain some sense of sustainability from a financial perspective, and removing those, and I'm going to use the words non-essential, but those words are only related to the COVID mission. So you do have a number of clinical folks that may have been furloughed or had hours reduced, but those are in subspecialized areas. So surgical techs, surgical nurses, radiology, interventional radiology, those types of areas that those nurses just don't provide the bedside care that's needed. Those open positions are really at the bedside, and those are critical, mission critical positions. The other is replacing higher cost contract labor for travelers, and the other group that is non-exempt from that would be a large number of corporate furloughs, again non-essential to the COVID mission.
Well, Justin, thank you for that. We're going to try to move on real quick, but again, thank you to everything that you all are doing, and we know that industry is one that we'll have to continue to make sure that we're all supporting over the coming weeks and months. So thank you for that update. I'm going to turn it over to Morgan over in Oconee. And Morgan, you guys have had, unfortunately, a double hit this week, not just COVID, but also the tornadoes. So if you give us a quick update about what's going on in Oconee.
Yeah, as you can imagine, Annie's been really, really busy and tied up, so she asked me to step in for today. So hello, everybody. I hope y'all are having a great day, and I know this is trying times, but we're just trying to get through it. Obviously, Sunday night, early Monday morning, Oconee had an F3 tornado roll through Seneca, which is the largest municipality in our area. We had one death reported. We still had a few people that are unaccounted for. However, hoping for the best with that. However, one of our largest employers, Borg Warner's facility, was destroyed. So it's been trying for us. We've just been trying to keep in touch with all of our industries, and as of today, we all know that no other industry was affected by the tornado as far as any damage or anything like that. So we're very fortunate in that, but Borg Warner has a long road ahead of them, and we're fortunate that we have a community that's willing to step up and help out. People are, donating ice to people who still don't have power. I mean, we have people who are creating meals for people and dropping them off. Obviously, there was a lot of downed trees and power lines, and we worked quickly as a county and got information out there telling people to stay home. So it worked out really well. We're fortunate that there was not more of an issue than there was. So yeah, we're just really trying to help Borg Warner, and they're currently occupying our office right now because their offices were damaged. So yeah, it's just been kind of a mess with that. But as far as COVID-19 goes, just trying to keep on trucking. That's kind of the motto of our county, and we're doing a good job with it. So thank you.
Well, good. Thank you. And we'll continue to keep updating on things that we hear from there in Oconee in any way people can help. One of the greatest champions, or I would say now media superstars around, is Ken Roper in Pickens County, who has a daily podcast or update that I think is getting national recognition there, Ken. So thank you for taking the time to join us and give us a quick update about Pickens County.
Well, I would like to say first that my comments are brought to you today by Tylenol and by sleep aids as well. No, I feel like at some point I'm going to have to start doing sponsorships for that thing. It's kind of taken on a life of its own. And then I also have the indignity of watching my mother try to interact with Facebook during this thing. And it's a series of just increasingly humiliating things where she just posts my name 10 times or something like that. So it's a humbling experience. But a couple of things I want to talk about just to update you on Pickens County. One is, may seem simple, but my fellow Rotarian Carol Burdette mentioned this just a moment ago, is communication. We went into a state of emergency on March 20th, and every morning, other than Easter morning since that time, we have had an 8:30 huddle call. It includes all county departments, our school district, our sheriff's office, our clerk of court, the prosecutor's office, the public defender's office. Both local hospitals have representatives on that call. Prisma, Baptist Easley, and AnMed Health Cannon. We also have on that call Duke Energy and Blue Ridge Electric Co-op. We also have our local delegation, representatives from each of our municipalities, as well as DSS, the United Way, the Red Cross, and the National Guard. This morning huddle call works where everyone knows where they fit in it. There's no introductions, there's no pleasantries. When the person in front of you on the list stops talking, the next person starts talking. And so we have done it with 30-something participants, and it ends up being a 10 or 15-minute call. So it's very well attended. I'm very proud of the way it's working because it's allowing us all to be on the same page. Our school district, all of our municipalities, our delegation, we're all on the same page. And so that's happened every morning. Other than Easter morning, I gave everybody a break. We didn't do it Easter morning, but we'll continue that for the duration of the emergency. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I come to this as a government lawyer, so I'm not weighing in on the legality of this, other than I would say that our emergency ordinance, Pickens County Ordinance 526, allows that once we're in a state of emergency, the administrator can form task forces to cooperate with nonprofits. So one thing that we did that I'm very proud of and is working really well is that as our airport, Pickens County Airport, started experiencing less traffic because of the outbreak, I put Director Carlos Salinas over our volunteer efforts. And basically, as we scaled down non-essential workers with the county government that were not in at-risk pools, so these are non-at-risk workers who are in jobs that we deem non-essential, we made them essential because we sent them to work at Meals on Wheels, at the United Way, delivering meals, cleaning the Meals on Wheels, packing meals for them, and then also helping out at the United Way. We also have started using Carlos and the task force of volunteers of county volunteers. They're paid. They're paid volunteers by us because they're getting paid their regular salaries. But they've also helped with gathering food for the Gleaning House, our local food bank. And so what we've tried to do is take these people that are in what we would deem non-essential jobs and put them to essential work as a part of our volunteer task force. It's been working really well, and I'm very proud of it. I know the United Way folks here, the local United Way folks, are actually sick of me asking them, what else can we do? What else can we do? And it's because we got this workforce, we're paying them, they want to help the community, and so we're trying to do that. But other than that, I would just say, because I saw the gentleman from Prisma on, how wonderful Prisma, Baptist Easley, and AnMed Health Cannon have been through this whole process. We've integrated them really closely with our emergency management folks. They've been excellent at communication. And I just wanted to say in this format in front of everyone that Prisma Baptist Easley, its importance to our community, the central role it's played in the Easley community for generations is something that we really value. And we know that they've had to scale back some things to prepare for what could potentially be a surge in our county and in other counties, and that we're a secondary COVID-19 location. But I know a lot of people through a lot of years put a lot of love and donations into that foundation and everything. And we really just want to express our thanks and our appreciation for Prisma and hope for many, many more good years and thank them. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ken. And Todd Horn, up in Spartanburg, you have a different perspective from a business standpoint. Tell us what's going on in your area.
Yeah, I'll be brief. Like many other communities across the upstate, certainly proud of how our communities come together, and the collaboration around Spartanburg has just been tremendous. A couple of cool things that we're doing from a business standpoint, the Chamber, along with One Spartanburg, has partnered up to create a fund called Back the Burg. And that group will basically raise money to help small businesses on the other side of this thing. And it's not a loan, it's specifically financial support to help small businesses through that. We were talking earlier about, companies that may not come back on the other side of this. And there's a lot of companies, specifically in the hospitality industry, restaurants, that are getting killed through this. So we want to make sure that we're supporting them, loving them, and helping them get through this. So we created that Back the Burg fund. We've already got close to $100,000 in that fund already, and we're reaching out to other companies across the area to try to get them to support as well. One of the other things that we've done, we've launched a corporate catering program that's pretty neat with companies around Spartanburg County. We've had 25 companies sign up for that program, and one company has committed $4,000 to support local businesses. So we've partnered with all local restaurants to make sure that they're catering companies that are still running and up in business. I think I talked with somebody earlier today, Siemens had partnered with Converse Deli and had 400 lunches sent out there today. So we're really trying to support our local restaurants and our local businesses. We have a very authentic community and a lot of great restaurants here. We want to make sure that we support them through this pandemic and make sure they come out on the other side. Surprisingly, from an economic development standpoint, this is interesting. Our RFIs are up, and their activity is more right now higher right now than it was this time last year. And so that's shocking that that's happening through this, but we're getting a lot of RFIs around Spartanburg County, which is something to certainly be excited about. Other than that, United Way has created United for All, which is a fund that they've created where folks are giving to that and making sure that we're supporting people who are being affected by COVID-19. But again, just real proud of our community, the way we're coming together, and I believe we'll come out on the other side of this stronger than before. Thank you, Dean.
Great. Thank you very much, Todd. And I talked to John Lummis the other day, and he said that from a regional standpoint, are still getting projects in and things. So that is very encouraging, and already talking about what things will look like moving forward. I apologize. I don't think we ever got Tim back, and I think Kathy, Joe, and Union had to go off as well. So I apologize in multiple ways. We're running a little bit long, and unfortunately, we didn't get the Abbeville and Union updates. We will start with them next week. We've got a couple other folks next week as well. V. Daniel from the Better Business Bureau is going to give a little bit of an update on scams and things happening and what we need to look at there. And then it's possible we may have Congressman Duncan as part of the call as well. So we're working on that, and then we'll have the county updates as well. So with that, Terrence, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Dean. Thanks, everybody. So many good things that are happening out there in upstate South Carolina. It makes me proud to be part of 10 to Top. I hope everybody has found this format helpful. I learned something new every day about upstate. And so I would just encourage everybody to keep your head down and keep moving and stay safe. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.